Hey, welcome to Helium 10 Profitability Calculator review in tutorial. In this video, we are going to show you with the Kerry from Helium 10 how to use the Helium 10 Profitability Calculator, how you can actually understand all the parts of it. So if you're looking to start a new product on Amazon, or maybe you want to optimize your current product, we'll show you how to understand the numbers, and the Helium 10 Profitability Calculator is going to be helpful for that. It's part of the Helium 10 Chrome extension, which is available for download in the description. It's free to use. The free version is, of course, limited. I mean, the free version also has the calculator, but the paid version will have like more options generally to the extension. And also free trial of Helium 10, and some discounts are in the description. So today with me, Kerry from Helium 10. She's also a seller on Amazon and also Walmart. We have also other videos with Kerry about Walmart, which I'll leave in the description. If you are interested in maybe selling a Walmart, these videos are going to be helpful for you. There you can understand how the platform works. I guess we talked about the algorithm of Walmart and also how to use Helium 10 for that. So it's in the description. But today, Helium 10 Profitability Calculator. Kerry, how are you today?
Good. I'm doing great. How about you?
I'm doing great too. So I'm happy to record another video with you. And this is an interesting topic because this is very important to understand our costs, especially before we launch a product, because then we know like what we're looking at, if we can be profitable or not. Some people sometimes launch products without looking into that, and that's not good, I think.
Yeah, probably not too good. So
Yes.
yeah, profitability is really important. So I'll go ahead and just maybe start and share my screen. Alrighty. So I've already pulled up just an Amazon page of garlic press. Of course, everyone always, uses garlic press as an example. But the Chrome extension, if you've downloaded, it's up in your toolbar. I always pin it up there so it's easy to find. And then what you'll do is you're going to click on profitability calculator. They have there's a bunch of different options here for the extension, which are really great, but we're going to focus on profitability calculator today. Like Vova said, it is really important to make sure that you calculate your costs so that you're actually profitable. I've actually talked to a lot of people who are newer sellers that they'll, order products and they realize they literally are just giving away products or basically paying people to buy their products because they didn't look at the profitability. So you want to make sure that you have some healthy profit margins so that you actually can make money in this business. So we made it easier for you to be able to calculate or get an estimate. Now, it's not going to be exact, but it's going to give you a really good idea of, what is going to cost you. You will have to do some research to add some information in here, but it's definitely a very easy way to calculate. So the first thing is the price. When you say you find a product that you want to sell that's similar to a competitor, you can pull this profitability calculator on their actual Amazon page. And so I usually will do that. You can change the price. So say maybe you're going to bundle it or you're going to do something else. You can change the price or you can keep the price there. So that is something that you can edit. So say I might say, oh, I'm going to do, some other kind of mincer as well. I might charge $25. I can change it to that. So I'll just leave it at $15.99. Actually, I'll go to $25. I usually like products that are at least $25 because the profitability, just your margins just get so low. So I'll just go ahead and put $25 in there. I'll say I'm going to bundle it with something to sell it that way. So it also pulls in the dimensions here. So this is something that's really important to consider because there are different tiers in terms of your, shipping for FBA. So the dimensions are really, really important of the actual product itself. And so I'm going to just click on another tab here to show you there's different charges for different size tiers. So there's small, standard, and it's based on the weight as well as the dimensions. So this is the dimension. Now, if you're just like a little bit higher than this dimension, you're going to be put into large standard. So I actually have had this happen to me where the packaging, I thought it was a certain size, and then the factory sent it and it was just a tad bit bigger and it pushed me into the large standard. And that really, really cut into my profitability. So that was really difficult because it makes it a lot harder because you can see here, you've got like, you can do an 8 to 12 ounce something that's small for $358, but if it's that same 8 to 12, it's going to be $424. So it's a pretty substantial amount when it comes to like lower cost products. So you want to make sure that you create the product so that it is in the size tier and the range that you want. So when you get samples, you're really going to want to look at the packaging and make sure that you know exactly what the weight and the sizing is. But on this calculator, we've got, an example of a competitor product. So you can use the competitor products dimensions to kind of guesstimate what it's going to be. But once you get your actual, samples, you can go ahead and put the exact dimensions in there and the weight. So you can see that this is a large standard size tier. Another thing that, once you do start selling, you'll always want to check to see what tier they put you in, because sometimes they put you in the wrong tier, and that you're like, man, I'm just not profitable. That could be a potential reason why. But this is going to be filled in just based on this particular listing. But again, it's editable. And then the manufacturing costs. Now, what I usually do is you don't have to have this exact as well. I'll go to Alibaba and I'll look for the products. So if you're at Alibaba, you can say, I'm looking for a garlic press. Okay, so we got garlic press, and you can take a look at what the pricing is for, you know, garlic presses that are similar to what you want to sell. This one's, you know, $250 to $359. I will usually go a little bit higher on the price just to kind of be safe. I don't usually take the lowest and hope for the best. I usually just kind of go up, but you can take an average of, you know, the pricing for different manufacturers so that you can get kind of a rough estimate. But obviously, once you start talking to manufacturers, you can put the exact estimate that they give you in here so you can calculate it. So I think, you know, $3.20, that's probably good. It's, you know, it's a little higher on the higher end, but, you know, I always like to over exaggerate. Freight cost. Now, this is something that you're going to want to get from, I usually get this information from my freight forwarder, but if you're air shipping, it's going to be more expensive, obviously, or you can do like, I usually do an entire container. So it would be, you know, like $3,000 or so, I think is what they're going for right now. But you can do like per cubic meter, whatever it is, and you can calculate. So I'm just going to calculate. I don't know. What's a shipping rate that do you do smaller shipments?
So for example, you can choose a kilogram. I recently had a shipment from China to United States with fast sea shipping, like 300 kilos, and it was like 2.2 per kilo. So we can
2.2 per kilo.
Yeah,
Okay.
per kilogram. And $2.2. You can do per kilogram. No, Carrie? Let's say
yeah, you can do per kilogram.
Yeah, and then
you said 2.2. Yeah, sorry.
2.2. Yeah, 2.2. There you go. Yeah, yeah. So it's like
so
60
we'll
units.
60 cents. Yeah, 60 cents per. I was confusing myself. I usually do the container, the entire container, so it's pretty easy to do that. The next thing is the FBA fee. So the FBA fee is like the referral fee of what, you know, basically Amazon charges, kind of like for them referring customers to you. And so you're going to want to choose what your product, most people are going to choose most goods, but if you're in apparel or you have batteries or any kind of, you know, dangerous goods or anything like that, you're going to have to choose these different, because there's different pricing for those. I'll just put in most goods because that's pretty much what most people have. And the next part is storage. So this is the how fast you are thinking you're going to turn over your inventory. Now, you used to really be able to ship in like an entire container to Amazon, but those days are really gone. So they have a limited amount of inventory that you can send in. So usually what people do is send it to a third-party logistics warehouse, and then the warehouse will send in increments. So what I usually like to do is kind of guesstimate how much I would sell in a month so that I turn everything over in a month so that I don't get those Amazon storage fees. So I'm just going to put 1 month here, but you know, if it takes you 3 months to go through your inventory, then you can mark it accordingly. And then the next thing is you're going to choose the category that you're in. So every category has a different referral fee. So they're pretty similar, but you know, they're going to have some differences. So maybe I'll do, this is garlic press. So kitchen, would you say that's the right category there? Kitchen?
Yeah. Yeah. I also wanted to mention, Carrie, that the storage fee that we see above, $0.02 January to September and $0.06 from October to December, this is based also on the estimated time in storage. So I believe if we put like 12 months, right, the numbers should change there. So the storage fee should adjust accordingly, to whatever we put there. But as you mentioned, it's also a good idea to have a faster turnaround for inventory, so we don't pay the 0.23 eventually per unit. It's going to be 2 cents instead of 23. So then we can keep some inventory at the supplier, some inventory at the third-party warehouse, and some inventory on Amazon, of course, as well. And of course, October, December, usually the fees are higher. That's why we see it higher.
You know, they also sometimes decrease the amount of items that you can have during that time. So this last season, we had a whole bunch of people that were in our elite group, and we were discussing, you know, how to get around the fact that they were reducing our allowances for sending products in. So that's always a challenge too to work through at that time. So it's something to be aware of. So duties and tariffs, I usually get this percentage from my freight forwarder. How do you usually figure this out, Vova?
Yeah, ask the manufacturer and the freight forwarder about the HS code. It's called. Maybe Carrie, know HS. What does it stand for?
Yeah, no, I don't even know what it stands for.
Maybe in the post-production, I'll make it appear here. What does HS code mean? But this is essentially a code that we know that once we import things into, let's say, United States, then particular items will have particular duties. Maybe, let's say a garlic press. This is just an example. Yeah, I don't really know what is the specific duty for that, but let's say we bought garlic presses for $1,000 and the tariff is 10%. So we have to pay extra 10% of the inventory cost as a duty and tariff. So we need to check that before with the forwarder or manufacturer. Yeah, and then we just input the percentage. So it depends. It can be 0, it can be 25. Depends on
it can be kind of expensive. I had a product that was like a bearing, and they ended up putting it into a totally different tax category, and we couldn't get it out. Basically, we lost money on that shipment. It was a really interesting. It depends on sometimes when they put it in the wrong category in customs, you can really have some challenges. So
I've heard that someone who was telling me that somebody was selling his business, right? He was selling like with a specific, for a few years with a specific HS code. Let's say it was like 10%, but it actually was a mistake. It was in another category, and once the buyer was buying, they recognized it, and it lowered down the price of the business because it was, let's say, not 10% but actually 20. And another short story I have is like once we were looking for into this product called fire pit mat. Maybe I'll also show it here in the post-production, but essentially you put it under a fire pit, which people put on their outside of the home. What's the porch? And in order not to burn the porch, the patio. So they have like a fireplace, that fire pit. So there was a mat to put under it, so you could have it all clean and all that. So the numbers seemed good on Amazon until I checked the HS code. It was 25%. So then it kind of a little bit changed the situation. Yeah. So there you go.
Yeah, it definitely makes a big difference. So that's really something that I found interesting, that it doesn't always get put in the right category, which you learn through the mistakes to figure that part out. Yeah. All right, and then other costs. I would say tacos would be the next thing. Is like your pay-per-click advertising is something that you need to really calculate into your whole overall sales. That's one mistake I made, was I didn't realize how expensive the pay-per-click for one particular product was. You can in Cerebro and Magnet, there's some kind of suggested bids and things like that, but you really don't always know until you get into the pay-per-click advertising and start, seeing what the actual bids are. So I remember it was a few dollars a click for this particular product, and I didn't really factor that in. So that's something to factor in. Usually it's not going to be as outrageous, but maybe putting into like a 10% tacos calculation in there to see what that cost is going to be.
Can you please explain tacos to us? This is total ACOS?
It's the total cost. So for example, if you want to keep it around 10%, so say you sell 100,000 in sales, then your tacos, if you basically you're paying $10,000, your tacos is 10%. So it's basically, you want to keep that number as low as possible because it helps with your profitability. You don't want to spend too much on advertising. So it's the total cost of advertising basically. And so, so you can see down here, basically what your return on investment would be per unit. Now I put in a higher amount, obviously, than $15.99 was the actual. I put $25, and the product only costs, $3.20, and it's a smaller item. So you're going to see a bit more profitability. So let's go. I want to kind of show by just changing it back to $15. Sorry, just trying to go back up here.
There you go. You got it. Okay.
$15.99. So let's change it to $15.99.
You can see the numbers change. Yeah.
Yeah. And we'll see the numbers change. That's a lot less profitability. Like it's $3.90. That's why it's really important to really look at the, the margins and how much you're going to potentially gain from this. Because again, we put in 10% tacos in there, but you could
be more.
You could potentially pay higher, like a lot of people hover around 15%, 15 to 20%, even though that's not too great, especially at the launch, you're going to pay higher. So I always like to do the smaller the product with the higher the cost is better. Obviously those are going to be harder to find because those are kind of golden because you're going to have a lot higher margins, but that is something to definitely consider when you're looking at this. Another way that you can calculate this is FBM. So if you want to fulfill your own products, and a lot of people do, sometimes people just ship it into their garage and they're fulfilling it on their own. They're not, necessarily shipping it to Amazon, although it's much easier if you ship it to your garage and then to Amazon. But say you wanted to set up your ship station and do it yourself, you can actually go in here and you can go ahead, say it's a 3PL, you will have some storage fees and then fulfillments per item usually. So you can calculate those by putting that information in here. So it's basically going to be the same kind of process, but you've got to calculate, the shipping and all of that stuff. So
yeah, we can contact the third-party logistics center if we're working with such. Then we will add the storage costs. Let's say, again, we'll ship 100 units to them. We'll ask them, hey, we have 100 units of such and such size and weight. How much will you charge us for that? They'll tell us XYZ. We'll input XYZ into the storage cost, and then we can calculate these numbers. And of course, if you're doing that at your garage, then maybe you can add to the other costs, or maybe you could add that to the, I'm not sure actually where I would add that, but if I'm like buying all the labels and all these things, then
it's going to go into other costs.
Yeah,
So
that would make sense.
you can do
We can
dollars.
also do it by dollars, by the way. Yeah, there's percentage and dollars. Of course, if we have $10 here, it's going to be negative. So I'll remind the listeners that, again, in the description, we have the Helium 10 Chrome extension to try it out. So you can use the profitability calculator to see the profits, the potential profits, or maybe if you have your own product now that you're already selling and you're not sure about your profits, that would be a good idea to run through this because it gives you a pretty good estimate. Of course, you have to check if the size that Amazon pulled is the correct size, or again, if the size that the manufacturer gives you is a bit different, then input that. And of course, as Carrie, as you mentioned, be aware of the tiers of sizes, because if you can lower it down somehow, proactively, like find a way to lower it down. I had such an experience with one of my products. It's a grill brush. So we made it to be 16-inch instead of 18, which was the normal one. And we were able to make the weight go under, I don't remember exactly the number, but the weight, because we cut it to be a bit smaller, went into a lower kind of category, and it saved us about $1.50 or something like that per sale. So yeah, it's a lot of money, right? You can then invest this 1.5 that you've saved into pay-per-click, let's say, or whatever. Yeah. So Carrie, anything else?
Yeah. Well, it adds up a lot over time. The more you calculate your sales, the more sales you realize how much even pennies make a difference for your profitability. So that's a really good point I mean, I think of like IKEA, how they, these big items, they fold them down, they engineer them so well to, so they're packaging as small as possible to save money on shipping. And they're probably saving, a good amount of money by doing that for shipping reasons. So it is something that you really want to think about, is the size of it, because it can really move you into the negative if you're not careful.
Yeah, right. Carrie, anything I should have asked you and haven't asked about the calculator?
I think we covered everything. Something else that is happening a lot because of inflation is that people probably, sellers probably, you want to go back in here and you can play around with the price to see what your, wiggle room is, I guess you could say, and how much you need to raise your price. Because I think a lot of us, maybe I raised some of my prices slightly, but it's really important to really calculate what you need in order to stay profitable. And I think that a lot of your competitors are probably raising their prices, so you can still stay lower than them, but probably raise your prices because fees are going up, inflation, there's a lot of stuff happening. So it's a really good little tool to have to continually calculate that.
I have a quick question for you, Carrie, about so we're seeing numbers there, the green numbers in the lower part, and maybe a new seller is watching now is like, all right, $3, 99% ROI in margin. What should be a good number? I mean, I can share mine as well. Like, so these are numbers I'm seeing. So maybe for those who are listening, like these are actual numbers that I'm getting when finding products that are like before the ad spend, before the other marketing things spent, before, what not spent on Amazon. It's like 300% ROI, about 40% margin. After everything, it drops to like 100 and ROI and about 20-ish margin. That's what I'm seeing, at least.
Let's see if I change it back to 25, what we get here. We get about 278.
Yeah.
So maybe a product that's, $25. Let's see, did I have the tacos in here? That's definitely, I mean, the higher you get, the better, because it's like you can sell $100 product and make $50, but it's the same, you might be selling a cheaper product and, it's the same effort and it's the same, sometimes it's the same cost in pay-per-click. You really want to think about that just to put it into perspective, because you can make a lot more money by having those higher margins and it's a lot less stressful. But I know a lot of sellers who have, slimmer margins, but they sell tons, like 1,500 a day of something. And so, you know, it really depends on what your strategy is, how you work. So that's a little more stressful to me to have such slim margins and do just a ton of volume.
Yeah, I understand.
But yeah, so I think the higher the better, obviously.
Definitely.
300% sounds like a good idea.
We can also try to, if we want to drop the manufacturing cost. So even if we change it from 3.2 to $3, if you could do that, Carrie, we'll see that.
Yeah.
There you go. So yeah, it changed slightly. However, again, that's 20 cents, which is actually a lot, right?
Yeah.
Eventually that's,
yeah.
so that's
there
also,
were some that were like $2. So let's see if that, yeah.
And changes the picture. Because then again, if we have the higher ROI and hopefully we're also turning around inventory fast, which is also an important thing. Sometimes you can have big ROI, but you're getting only a few sales every other day. And it's not maybe as good as when you're quickly turning around your inventory. So you get the money back faster to buy more products and to grow your business and all that. So actually, I'm still definitely a student of this process. Like I'm myself learning how
all of us are.
Yeah, like
yeah.
how to stay in
Like
stock, how to not overstock. Yeah. Yeah. And
I had one product. I went to the Canton Fair and it was about $250. And went to the Canton Fair and was able to get it for 90 cents. Let's see if I can. So it was like $250. Let's see. And it was about a $25 product. So I'll show you if I can. I don't know why the bar here is kind of harder for me to scroll down. Yeah, basically it was $250. So there's that. But then I went back, it went down to 90 cents. So you can see how much that changes things. And there are some different trade shows that you can go to even in the US right now. Like I work with my dad and he's going to one in New York, I think next week. And so you can kind of take a look at these trade shows because a lot of manufacturers are coming here, not only from China, but from other countries. So when they're all together, it's easier to negotiate the price down because you can see, oh, all these people are offering much lower prices. Now it might be a little different going to actual China because I went to the Canton Fair there. And so there's a lot more manufacturers and you really can, bargain it down. So I haven't been to the US ones, but, they are competing with each other for your business.
Yep.
So it is a great way to kind of get those costs down as well, but is going to trade shows and just really kind of continually looking at this because you can see per item, if I'm making like $3 more an item and selling, 200 units a day, that's pretty substantial.
Yeah, definitely.
So, yeah. And yeah, it's something that we're always continually learning. I don't think anyone's can really say they're a master because there's always something that happens that you learn and you just redirect. And that's kind of the thing about being an entrepreneur is that things happen and the people who make it adjust. So like when the containers, I think we paid $20,000 for a container during the shipping container shortage. And now they're like down to 3,000. That's a huge amount of difference. So, we just really had to maneuver and just keep going and figure out how to make up for those costs. So I think that's the thing that you're always going to be maneuvering. You're gonna be looking at these numbers. You got to kind of just keep finessing it so that you can stay profitable, especially with things that go on that you can't control. So I think that's my biggest advice is that there's always going to be something. You just have to redirect your sales.
That's great advice. Thank you for sharing. Yeah, pretty cool. So yeah, I'll remind our listeners, viewers, in the description, we have a link to the extension. You can install it for free to try to use it. Free trial of Helium 10, discounts for Helium 10 as well. It's all going to be linked in the description. Also a full tutorial of the extension down there. I'll leave a video. It's like 15 minutes where I show all the different parts, the side of the profitability calculator. Yeah, Carrie, I appreciate your time today. It was really interesting. And if anyone has any questions, maybe we didn't cover something, feel free to drop comments. I'll make sure to answer them. And if I won't know the answer, I'll ask Carrie and we'll cover that. And yeah, thank you, Carrie. It was pretty cool. Interesting.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me.
Thank you.